Hi everyone, welcome back to SHEMS Shanivasante classes. Today I will be teaching The Swan and the Princess, Unit-5. Unit-5 and the prose, The Swan and the Princess. As the title indicates, this is a folk play. A folk play can be enacted or is a short story. In this play, the story plays around the swan and there'll be two princes. The topic begins with the questions: who owns a bird or an animal? It gives the questions to us. The one who catches it or the one who looks after it? To understand this, read the following play which deals with an incident in the life of Siddhartha. Siddhartha is none other than Gautama Buddha, later who is much popularized in the world. There are characters involved in the play. They are as follows: Shuddhodana, the king of Kapilavastu; Siddhartha, the prince of Kapilavastu; Devadatta, he is the cousin of Siddhartha; the chief minister and four other ministers of the king; and finally the guard. Here, the play begins with the guard. King Shuddhodana is sitting on his throne. His ministers are sitting around him. The chief minister is saying something to him. Just then the guard enters and bows to the king. Bows means bending. Guard says, "Long live the king." "Sir, Prince Devadatta wants to come in." "Long live the king" means blessing the king. The guard enters and conveys the message that Prince Devadatta has come to meet the king. King replies, telling him that bring him inside. The guard bows and goes out. Chief Minister: "I wonder why Prince Devadatta wants to see the king at this time." Second Minister: "Perhaps he wants to complain against someone." The guard enters with Devadatta. Both of them bow to the king. When king asked the guard to bring Devadatta inside, two ministers who were sitting there, they wonder why Prince Devadatta wants to meet king, and they could guess that Devadatta has visited there to complain against someone. When the guard enters with Devadatta, both of them bows to the king. King asks, "What is it, Devadatta? Why have you come to meet me at this time?" Devadatta says, "Sir, the prince will not give me my swan. I want justice from you." King, smiling, "Be calm, Devadatta. Has Siddhartha taken your swan from you?" Devadatta: "Yes, sir, he has. I shot it and it fell on the ground near the prince. He picked it up and said he would not give it to me." King: "That's very naughty of Siddhartha." To the guard, "Go and call him." The guard bows and goes out. Third Minister, softly to the fourth minister: "The prince is a good lad. He can't do a thing that's wrong." Here, when Devadatta comes inside, king asked him what is the purpose that he has visited there. And Devadatta says that prince will not give me my swan. I wanted justice from you. King, with a smile, he convinced Devadatta and asked him for the confirmation whether Siddhartha has taken his swan. Devadatta says, "Yes, sir, he has taken. It was the swan that I shot it. That swan fell on the ground near the prince. When it fell near the prince, he picked it up and said he wouldn't give it to me. And now the king orders the guard to call the Siddhartha to his place. And the third minister, he speaks to the fourth minister by saying, the prince is a good lad. Lad means a young boy. And the fourth minister, he agrees with the third minister's words. Then the guard enters with Prince Siddhartha, who has a white swan in his arms. Siddhartha bows to the king. When Siddhartha enters there, the king asked the Siddhartha, Siddhartha, Devadatta says that you have taken his swan. Is that the swan which you took from him? Siddhartha says, Your Highness, Devadatta has complained about the swan, but it is not his swan, it's mine. Devadatta says, No, Your Highness, it is not his, it is mine. I shot it with an arrow. Siddhartha is telling a lie. Here, when king asked Siddhartha that whether he has taken Devadatta's swan, Siddhartha assures the king that he has not taken Devadatta's swan, but he has taken the swan which belongs to himself. But Devadatta replies that no, he is telling a lie. Means Siddharth is telling a lie. The swan, I shot it, but he is telling a lie that it belongs to him. When he says like that, king asked him to be calm. He says, Be calm, Devadatta. You say that the swan is yours because you shot it. Is that right? The king is trying to analyze the case and he understands in such a way that Devadatta is the one who shot an arrow to the bird. The swan is a bird. Devadatta agrees, Yes, sir, that's quite right. And the king says, What do you say, Siddhartha? Why do you say that the swan is yours? The king asked Siddhartha that now you have to tell why the swan is yours. Siddhartha says, Your Majesty, Devadatta shot this swan, but I saved its life. That's why it's mine. Here, Siddhartha justifies his answer by saying that Devadatta is the one who has shot an arrow towards the swan, but the swan was saved by Siddhartha, so it belongs to him. Minister says, Here, here. That means they're also saying that what Siddhartha is saying is the right factor. And the king says, Listen, Siddhartha, a Kshatriya can't give up what he has shot. Do you agree with me? According to Kshatriya's rules, a Kshatriya who has shot an animal or the bird, they are not supposed to be sacrificing their hunting animal or it's a bird. Siddhartha says, Yes, I do, sir, but a Kshatriya can't give up a suppliant either. This swan came to me for protection. I can't give it up. Suppliant means one who seeks humbly. Humbly means without any fight, who is very honesty and who will be looking for somebody that who takes care. So Siddhartha justifies that even being a Kshatriya, even he cannot give up the suppliant who has come for the protection towards him. He can't give up that, so it belongs to him. Devadatta argues that, Your Highness, this is injustice. I shot the swan, so it's mine. He started arguing that either Siddhartha can't give up, but he was not ready to give up that. King, now he gets confused. He says, Well, boys, I'm puzzled. Puzzled means confused. It's a strange case. I don't know how to decide it. Chief Minister agrees to resolve the issue. So Chief Minister says, Prince Siddhartha and Prince Devadatta, please listen to me. Prince Devadatta says that the swan is his because he has shot it, and the Prince Siddhartha says that it is his because he saved its life. Am I right? By asking this, he confirms the case. Siddhartha and Devadatta, both of them says, Yes, you are right. And Chief Minister says, Good. Now Prince Siddhartha, please put the swan on this stool. Chief Minister asked Siddhartha to keep the swan on the stool which was there. And now Chief Minister calls out Devadatta to come forward and ask the swan to come to him. Devadatta says, he was coming a little forward and he asked the swan that, Come to me, O swan, come, come, come. The swan trembles and cries with fear. Chief Minister, that will do, Prince Devadatta. Now it's your turn to call the swan, Prince Siddhartha. Devadatta goes back and Siddhartha comes forward. Siddhartha, he was going near the swan and he called out, Dear swan, don't be afraid. I have come to you. Come and sit on my arms. The swan once flies onto Siddhartha's arms. So, how Chief Minister he resolves the case in such a way that he asked Siddhartha to keep the swan on the stool, and he asked Devadatta to go forward and calls out for the swan. By then, the swan, listening to his voice, it trembles and cries with fear. And the Chief Minister then he asked Prince Siddhartha to do the same. When Siddhartha called out with his loving words, immediately the swan once flies onto his arms. So now Chief Minister says to the king that, Your Highness, the swan has decided the case. King, it has indeed. Indeed means really. So Chief Minister and King, both of them agrees that the swan itself has decided the case. So the swan has decided and we need to accept the decision. The swan belongs to Prince Siddhartha. Then all the people who are there, all the ministers in the palace, they say, Long live